Hello, this is a quick review of the map key for the NSTA Atlas of 3 Dimensions by NSTA Press. I'm Ted Willard, the author, and we're going to do a quick run through of the map key. It's on the inside back cover of the Atlas or on page 22 of the introduction, but we're going to kind of go through and look at it. As mentioned in the map key, maps organize all of the elements from the standards on a particular topic on a single page. For example, this is structure and properties of matter. The elements range from grade 2, K2 at the bottom of the map up to grades 9, 12 at the top. There are elements in boxes. Arrows connect the elements to indicate how competency in one element can be useful in learning another. Thus, the map is a useful tool to help educators think about what each element means and how elements can build on one another over time in order to plan curriculum, instruction, and assessment. The introduction of the Atlas has a deeper dive into this, but the map key should give you a good overview, as will this video. We'll start at the top of the page here, that you've got the title for the map. In this case, it's Structure and Properties of Matter. And that also, there is also a code that goes along with this map in the PS1.A. That is one of the component ideas in the for the disciplinary core ideas, or DCIs, in the NGSS, and also in the framework. And then there is a map code here, 3.1. That means this is chapter 3 and the first map in chapter 3. The number before the period is what chapter it is. The number after the period is whether it's the first, second, or third map in the chapter. So 4.2 would be the second map in chapter 4. What you'll notice most on the map are boxes with text in it. The text that's an element box. The text in that are some of the elements of the NGSS. What do I mean by elements? Well, when you look at the standards, like here's a performance expectation with the 3 dimensions, the practices, the core ideas, and the cross-cutting concepts. They're little bullets. The text that's highlighted in yellow here are the elements of the dimensions. And so that is what we are mapping when it comes to these boxes. And so that's what the text is. As you look closely at the statement in any one of these boxes, you'll notice there's text and then there's a little code at the end of it. That is an element code, which is a unique identifier for the element. And element codes are pretty easy to dissect. It starts off with a part before the dash. That's the topic code, so PS1A. That is comes from the core idea PS1.A. And then after the code, there's a letter and a number. The letter would either be P, E, M, or H. P for primary, K2, E for elementary, 3.5, M for middle school, H for high school. And then finally, there's a number, and that just tells you whether it's the first, second, or third element for that topic in that grade span. So PS1A-P2, it's topic PS1.A. Then there's P for primary, K2, and it's the second one in there. EM-P1, that's energy and matter, a cross-cutting concept. And P again for primary, and the first one in that set. You'll notice that, again, that some of the boxes on the map are green and some are orange. They're color coding for the element boxes. Orange deals with core ideas. Green with cross-cutting concepts. Blue is for practices. And then we've added some new colors here. Purple for connections to nature of science. Teal for connections to engineering. Chapter 9 has performance expectations, says those boxes are gray. So these boxes with text in them, those are the element boxes. They are connected by arrows. What does an arrow mean? Arrow means competency in this idea will help students in learning this. So that students knowing this will help them learn that. Students knowing this can help them learn that. And so as you look at these connections that the arrows have, you can start to think about how ideas can build on each other and how they can connect to each other. And so to go around and look at it. There are some other features of the map that are a little bit secondary in importance, but you can start to go deeper into the map. There's something known as an also on connection. So if I go and zoom in here, it says also on 2.6. 2.6, that's another map. It's in chapter 2. It's the 6th map in chapter 2. And so these 3 boxes that are connected to that also on connection, can all 3 of them be found on map 2.6. There's also something known as an off-map element. And so that's what we have here, PS4B-P2. Again, we've got just the code here without the full text in it. And basically, there's a limit to how much you can fit on one map, and we want to show more connections. So off on another map, someplace in the atlas, is PS4B-P2, and that we're saying is connected, and they're connected by arrows. And so the arrow into one of these off-map elements works just the same way as an arrow between 2 element boxes. When you look at the full atlas, when you look at 2 pages of the atlas side by side, here's that map here again. Here's that. I can zoom in on the statement down here in the bottom. PS4B2. If you want to know what that means, on the facing page, on the page opposite the map, you can find PS4B-P2, and you can find exactly what the text of that statement is. And so you can read off and find that material. It's just not possible to fit all of that information on the map. So as you've probably noticed here, the maps themselves are presented in different grade ranges. At the bottom, we've got K2, then 3-5, then middle school, and then high school at these different grade bands. And so that helps you think about how things build on each other. I do want to note when I'm talking about grade bands, sometimes some things that people overinterpret in the placement on the maps. So for example, these 2 boxes here, side by side, but they're not connected by any sort of arrow. Just because this box is higher up on the map than this one does not mean that it should come later in sequencing of instruction. There's just the fact that this one is a little higher than this has basically only to deal with the fact of making the layout on the map ultimately fit together in certain ways. Similarly, we have this whole range here that's grade 6 through 8. Just because something is down towards the bottom does not mean it's for grade 6. Just because something's up near the top of that grade range does not mean it's for grade 8. All of the material here could be for grade 6. All of the material here could be for grade 8. What we're only dealing with on a map is the aspects of sequencing things around. And if you look at the map and you'll notice that every one of these arrows is a straight line that looks like it comes from the center of one box and goes into the center of another box. And if you stop a minute and think about how much work goes into arranging all of the boxes on a map to make that work out, and the layout by that, you can start to see the restrictions that limit how much I can make everything that might go in grade 6 somehow towards the bottom of the map, or something for grade 8 all towards the top of the grade range. So be aware of that. And the final piece I want to sort of mention here is that you can find sometimes a whole sort of column of elements. And we refer to this as a strand. It's a vertical chain of ideas. And looking at strands sometimes can really help you think about how ideas build on each other. And there are some strands that are like this, where they really all sort of perfectly stack on each other. But there are other strands like this one here going up these 3, but then it splits off into sort of 2 shoots. And that all could still be considered part of the same strand going up the page. But it's something nice to look at, and that can give you some sense of how the maps work. So that is a quick run through of how to read a map, what the map key is all about. I hope you found that useful. Again, this is for the NSTA Atlas in the 3 dimensions. I'm Ted Willard, and I hope you have a good day.